How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. The next phase of Bitcoin adoption is happening. It's super interesting, and I think a lot of people don't understand why this is so important. So I want to walk you through it. We'll talk about it very quickly. In the closet here, some other stuff going on throughout the house, so I had to step away for a second because I just saw some big news. Amazon shareholders apparently are trying to get Amazon to start looking at buying some Bitcoin. Right? First it was Microsoft, now it's Amazon. Eventually I think there'll be other companies as well, like Apple. Tesla did it years ago, and it's interesting because some of the CEOs, some of the people that run these companies own Bitcoin. It came out years ago that Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, owns Bitcoin. I think he even owns Ethereum. It's come out, obviously, that Elon Musk owns both of these. But what's so interesting is this is completely different from BlackRock buying or from the government's buying. It is a huge next step that will happen here very soon. Again, we'll talk about this in a minute. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. I try to make them whenever there's something really important that's happening, even if I have to step away. You know, I've stepped away from movies, stepped away from dinners, stepped away from a lot of stuff to come and make videos on what's happening in the Bitcoin market. Now, I will say too, if you do want to trade crypto, there are some links underneath the video. Of course, make sure you understand the risks of leverage trading. Make sure you understand the risks of using centralized exchanges. But we've been able to do it and make a good amount of money. So let's get into it. So obviously, we have so many institutions buying. There are companies buying. There are some profitable companies buying. Like MicroStrategy does have cash flows, although they are relatively small compared to some of the companies we're talking about in today's video. They make, last time I checked, about $75 million a year in cash flow. Their company is worth $80 billion now. So they trade at 1,000x cash flows, and that's because they have a large amount of Bitcoin. That's really not the main source of their market cap. It's not from their cash flows. It's from the ability to get more Bitcoin with cheap debt. It's from the options market. It's from the fact that they have a fat stack of Bitcoin already. They've grown from a $500 million market cap before Bitcoin to now $80 billion market cap with Bitcoin. Now, we also have BlackRock obviously buying Bitcoin, and to be clear, it's not like they're putting it on their balance sheet as a company. Maybe they are, but what they're really doing is there are clients that have invested money with them, and BlackRock might tell them, we think Bitcoin's a good idea, or they might just reach out to BlackRock and say, hey, we want to buy Bitcoin, or it's someone on their brokerage account that decides that they want to buy Bitcoin and they go buy the BlackRock ETF. So you have this happening. You have the talks about strategic reserves where countries are going to be buying Bitcoin and they're going to take part of their balance sheet. They have a lot of gold reserves or cheese reserves or various reserves for different types of scenarios. And now they're thinking, well, maybe we should get some digital asset capital that are in our reserves. What's noticeably missing from this is the fact that there are a lot of very profitable companies that are not adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet yet. Sure, there's MicroStrategy that's issuing debt. They're getting access to cheap capital. They're selling their shares at the money, and they're trading for 2 times what the value of their Bitcoin is. So they're getting a bit of a premium. Say they sell $2 billion worth of shares, they can go buy. They might dilute, right? They're diluting $2 billion worth of shares. But when you look at how much Bitcoin is underlying that stock, the fact is they're still selling and they're able to go turn that $2 billion into $2 billion worth of Bitcoin, which lowers the premium essentially. So they're able to balance or buoy up their balance sheet essentially, right? They're able to decrease that premium as they dilute shareholders a little bit more. So it's accretive. However, there aren't a lot of companies that do this unlevered, right? When you think about it, there's MicroStrategy, there's MetaPlanet. There are all these companies that are going out and buying Bitcoin, and some of them do it with cash flow. They might buy a little bit with cash flow, but the majority is coming from debt. When you look at some of the largest tech players in the world, though, they're looking for places to put capital. A lot of them have started to buy, billions of dollars worth of GPUs. They're kind of hedging themselves in AI. A lot of them are paying billions of dollars of dividends. A lot of them are buying back shares for billions of dollars. This is done fairly well over time. It makes clients happy when they get a dividend, but doesn't really help the company much. It helps the company a bit when they buy back their own shares because they can show increasing earnings per share, even if their earnings aren't actually increasing in real dollar terms, right? You make $1 billion and then all of a sudden you buy back 5% of your shares. Well, then earnings per share goes up, even if you just earn that $1 billion, if you don't dilute more than that 5%. So what's going to be really interesting is this kind of cash flowing company buying Bitcoin, right? They're putting their money in so many different places, dividends, buybacks, they're reinvesting, they're hiring more employees. They're doing all of these things, but they don't have a good strategy for their balance sheet. They're getting 4% interest on treasury bonds or treasury yields, but they're losing 14% when you look at what assets are increasing by each year. So if they can buy something like Bitcoin that actually holds value on their balance sheet, where they still have access to it too, right? You go buy back your shares, you don't really have access to that capital anymore. I mean, sure, maybe you can go dilute shareholders again, like you can buy back and then dilute, but that looks really bad. Same thing with the dividend. You pay out a dividend, you're not getting that money back. You keep money on your balance sheet, it erodes value over time, but you have access to it. What happens if the company actually has some big new venture that they want to invest in? Well, it'd be nice if they had a fat stack of Bitcoin that they've been saving in to be able to go spend, right? Or maybe they just want to hold the Bitcoin because that's going to go up by more than whatever they're going to invest in, right? This 15% compounded annual growth rate. So we start getting companies like Amazon, Microsoft. The shareholders want to get some Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Now, is that going to happen this cycle? I don't know. The fact is Tesla's already done it, but they don't continuously add with their free cash flow. They just bought a stack and are kind of sitting on it. I think it would make sense for some of these companies to be like, oh, we're going to buy $100 million a quarter of Bitcoin. It's not much. It's 200th of our cash flow for the quarter, 0.5%, but we'll do that, add a little bit to our balance sheet every quarter. Again, I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm trying to temper my expectations, but when that starts happening, it's going to be a game changer. Part of the reason for that is we have companies that make $20 billion every single quarter that aren't going to have to worry about any kind of liquidation. They're not going to have to worry about anything like that. They're just going to continue to accumulate and they won't ever really have to sell. Now, let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Again, if you want to trade crypto, there are links underneath the video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.